Hi everyone, this is Miss Afric again, and today we're going to talk about solving right triangles, but this time instead of being given a picture, we're going to be doing it from a description. So really the only difference is that you're going to have to draw your own picture, alright? So you have to read it carefully, make sure you label everything correctly. So for these it says, draw the following triangles, then solve them. And remember we talked last video that solving them means, let's see, I'll write it over here. Find the missing sides and angles. Find missing. There we go. Alright, so just a reminder, when it says solve the triangle, that's what we're talking about. Okay, and once again, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So, let's get started. Number one, it says triangle PLO. The measure of angle L is 90 degrees, the measure of angle P is 63 degrees, and lowercase p is 13.5. So remember, lowercase letters, that means it's a side, and more specifically, it's the side opposite of uppercase P, so of angle P. Alright, so just remember that. Uppercase letters, those are going to be our angles. So in this triangle, these are the three letters we're using, P, L, and O, and it tells us that L is the 90-degree angle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a right triangle. Doesn't matter too much how you draw it, like if yours is facing a different way, that's okay, as long as it has a right angle in it. And that right angle, since they told us it's L, I'm going to put an L next to it, so I know that that's angle L. As for my other two angles, in this case P and O, it doesn't matter which one those go with, so you can decide. I'll just make this P and this O. So I have triangle PLO. Alright, measure of angle L is 90 degrees, check. The measure of angle P, so that's this one, is 63 degrees. And then the measure of side P is 13.5, so that means the side opposite of P, lowercase p, is 13.5. So there's my triangle. Alright, and then once again I'm going to solve it, so I need to figure out what's missing. Well, I know angle L is 90 degrees, I know angle P is 63 degrees, but I don't know angle O, so that's going to be one thing I need to find, angle O. And then I know side P is 13.5, but I don't know side O or side L. I'm going to do a cursive L so it's not as confusing. Alright, so I need side O and side L too. Okay, well once again we have two angles, so to find the third we just have to subtract from 180. So I'm going to do 180 degrees. Whoops, you know what? Let's use a different color. That is still the same color. Alright, there we go. 180 degrees minus the two angles I was given, so minus 90 degrees and minus 63 degrees. And that's going to give me angle O, just a reminder. Alright, so angle O is going to be 180 minus 90 minus 63. I'll just type it in my calculator. 27. So angle O is 27 degrees, so that was what I will write. Don't forget that little degree symbol. Okay, it's like the units for the angle. Alright, and then side O and side L. Now, since I only have one side, in order to find my first side here, I'm going to have to use a trig equation. So, I'm going to circle the angle that I use as my reference angle, which is angle P here. That's my reference angle. Alright, and then I'm going to label my triangle. Opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Remember, it's all based on the angle we circled. Okay, so if I want to find angle O first, that's right here, so that's my adjacent side. And I already know P is 13.5, that's my opposite side. Then I'm going to go ahead and write out my SOHCAHTOA so I can figure out which one to use. Alright, so I want my adjacent, I know my opposite. Opposite adjacent looks like that's tangent, so I'm going to set up a tangent equation. Okay, the tangent of my angle, which is 63 degrees, is equal to my opposite side, 13.5, divided by the adjacent side, which is O. And then I just have to solve this equation. Remember, anytime that variable is in the denominator, we always multiply both sides by it, so that it's not in the denominator anymore. So I have side O times the tangent of 63 degrees equals 13.5. And then I can just divide both sides by the tangent of 63 degrees, type it in my calculator, and that'll give me side O. So, pull my calculator out, 13.5 divided by the tangent of 63. Make sure you're typing this in along with me to make sure you're getting the same answers, because otherwise it might mean something's wrong with your calculator, or it might mean something's wrong with how you're typing it in. So we want to make sure we fix both of those. Okay, so round to the nearest tenth. The next number is a 7, so I have to round that up. So that's 6.9. So side O is going to be 6.9. Let me mark that over here. Alright, so one last thing to find is the last side, which is side L. Since I already know two sides, the one they gave me, and side O, which I just found, I can find my third side using Pythagorean theorem. So remember, it's leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So in this case, that's 6.9 squared plus 13.5 squared equals my hypotenuse squared, which is L squared. Alright, and then this one's kind of nice. Let me pull this over because I can type this whole thing into my calculator since there's no variables there. So that's what I'm going to do. 6.9 squared plus 13.5 squared. Alright, 229.86. So then to get L by itself, I just have to square root both sides. And I'll do that on my calculator. Second square root. There we go. 15.1, but the next number is a 6, so that's really 15.2. So the last side that I get is 15.2. Boom. Done. All three of those pieces that were missing. Alright, let's do one more example together, and then I'll let you try... let's do two more examples together, and then I'll let you try some on your own. Alright, number 2, triangle ANT. So I know it's going to be a right triangle because that's all we're doing right now. And then it says measure of angle N is 90 degrees. That means that N has to go with my 90 degree angle. A is 24 degrees. Either one of these can be A, so label whichever one you want. Just make sure you label it with the number and the letter. And then lowercase n is 18 degrees. So that means the side across from angle N is 18. Sorry, not degrees, just 18. Alright, since it's triangle ANT, I know this third angle is T, so now my triangle is drawn. So I know that means that I'm going to need to know what angle T is, because I don't know that. I'm going to need side T, and then side A. So that's what I'm looking for here. Alright, angle T, remember we already know two angles, so angle T is just going to be 180 minus the two angles we know, so that's 90 degrees and 24 degrees. Okay, we can use our calculator for that if we need to, but that should end up giving us 66 degrees. So there's T. Alright, next thing we're going to do is solve for our side. That means we need to write a trig equation. So I'm going to circle my reference angle, alright, and then label. So opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. I'm going to solve for side T first, and I know that N is 18, so that means I want adjacent and hypotenuse. Let's just look up here at the one we drew before. Adjacent, hypotenuse, that's cosine. So I'm going to set up a cosine equation. Cosine of my reference angle equals adjacent, which is T, divided by hypotenuse, which is 18. Alright, multiply both sides by 18 to get rid of it. And then we can type that right into our calculator. 18 times cosine 24. 16.4, so there is side C. Alright, last one. To solve for my last side, I can just use Pythagorean theorem. So I know T, that's what I just found, so that's one leg, 16.4 squared, plus my other leg, which I don't know, that's what I'm solving for, so A squared equals the hypotenuse squared, which is 18 squared. Okay, we can use our calculator to help us with this stuff, just to make it easier. 16.4 squared and 18 squared. Alright, so 268.96 plus A squared equals 324. Subtract 268.96. Let's move this up here so we have a little bit more room. So 324 minus 268.96, 55.04, and then square root of both sides. So we end up with 7.4 for side A, and there's all three of our pieces. Alright, one little trick to help you kind of check your answer. In triangles, the biggest angle should always be across from the biggest side. And likewise, the smallest angle should always be across from the smallest side. So if you're ever not sure if you got the right answers, you can kind of use that to check yourself. Like, this is my biggest angle, 90 degrees. Well, is 18 my biggest side? 18, 16.4, 7.4? Looks like it. Alright, A, it looks like is my smallest side, so it should be across from my smallest angle. 24 degrees. Yep, that's my smallest angle. Alright, so you can use that as just kind of a quick check. Okay, you know what? I think 2 examples is good enough for you guys. If you feel like you need a third example, feel free to ask your teacher to do this one. Or if you would like to try it on your own, I can give you the answers. So how about this? I'm going to write try it on your own. Okay, but then just so that you have the answers so you can check it yourself, I'll write the answers down too. So in this one, angle C should end up equaling 20 degrees. Let's see, what else do we need? Side C is going to equal 10.9. And then what else? Side A is going to be 30.9. Alright, so try it on your own. See if you can get these answers. If you're not getting them, ask your teacher. If you feel like you understand the material well enough, feel free to move on to your in-class practice. Alright, have fun.